Happy morning, dears. This is Bharat here from Premier Academy, faculty for ITSM, EASSM, Interlaw, Economics for Finance, also for CA Final Law and Information Systems Control Audit. It's been a long time that I have met you. I hope that you guys are doing really well in taking up the examinations preparation to the next level. What I thought I can do today for the video is to make you sure that you get an exemption in Interlaw very easily. So I have prepared a basic level of understanding and the flow of the points that to be considered when you wanted to study for law examinations. It is not just an exam for Inter after completing the accounts and another paper to complete to get a 40 mark or a 50 mark and then proceed to costing. I feel law has to be for life and not just for exams. So it can be irrespective of any law. It can be a company law, it can be income tax law, or whatever it is. The way that we are covering up, the way the mentality of that particular subject we have in our head is going to determine our future and life. So without further delay, I'll just go inside and tell you what is going to be there for law and how it has to be covered. The basic thing that we will usually say whenever we cover law is longevity personified. That's what I was talking about. I said the law is not just for exams, the law is for life. So longevity is for a long period of time. What are the ingredients when you wanted to have a law class from us? We will try to get. The first and most important thing is the positive mindset. How you look into the subject is how the subject will look upon to you. So a clear approach toward the subject, that's a very important. So not just for exams, not just for saying, okay, 7 questions is going to come, 6 questions we'll attempt and 1 question will be left in choice. There will be some case-based questions, 30 marks will be for MCQ. How we can cover, that won't be sufficient for you to be in a professional exam like this. So the first important thing is the positive mindset. Being a positive and a non-negative will always have a difference. I will pass this examination with exemption is a positive term rather than just will I be able to remember all the provisions? Will I be able to write all the 3 hours? That will definitely create a negative impact or a negative vibe. So the first thing that we wanted to cover is a positive mindset. Second, when you go and approach a law study material, you need to ensure that you will have to have a connect. You will have to ice break with that material and you, because the first time everything it is not going to come to you exactly the way it is. So it will take some time. In strategic management, when we cover EASSM, there is a word from a Kurt Lewin strategic change. They say very clearly, he says, unfreezing, changing and refreezing has to be a process. Only then a change can come. So unfreezing, first you are ready to change and you are ready to accept the law as it is. And only then you will be able to cover this. So unfreezing, that means go with the flow. What is that flow is to understand more like a storyline. When you go and watch a movie, you will not try to remember the names of the actors or the actresses or the other people who are there. You will just go with the flow and try to get the storyline. And once you just enjoy that story, automatically everything is going to come. So memory should only be a part of the concept when it comes to law. The more important thing to cover is to know about the SECA, short extent, short title, extent, commencement and applicability. Unless and until you know this for the Companies Act 2013, we will not be able to proceed. So the first thing you need to cover is SECA, short title, extent, commencement, applicability. And then the definitions. There will be some easily 70 definitions right from the start till the end, which will cover up the whole of your points. If you remember company law, totally there are 470 sections, 7 schedules and 29 chapters. But when it comes to interlaw, it is only 10 chapters, section 1 to 148. So what are the definitions relating to it? Right from the word books, right from the word financial statements, till everything, CEO, CFO, everything will get covered. The types of companies, the shares that you deal with, everything gets covered. And you need to know about the source of the law. That's the origin of the law. Many people would not remember that there are previous company laws also. The moment when you say section 2, definitions, it will get covered. Section 2, subsection 20, when you read, that's the definition of a company. They will say very easily previous company laws also to be covered. That means section 2, subsection 67 also to be covered. So it is not just 2013 and 1956 we had. Right from 1800s, 1866, 1892, 1913, 1942 with the ordinance, and then 1956 and then 2013. You have previous company law. So unless and until you know the source of it, we will not be able to. When you read the new syllabus interlaw, you will have something called preamble in interpretation of statutes. Preamble is not just understanding the flow, it is understanding the scope, object, and purpose of the act. So only we call it as SOP. SOP is a mnemonics for preamble. So we can remember it as scope, object, and purpose. Now, when you wanted to study the definitions, immediately you should try to know what are the types of companies we have. If I ask you this question, what are the types of companies? You will say here and there bits and pieces like listed company, private company, public company, section 8, foreign company, government company. You will differentiate like this and then say. But if you have a very proper way of ordering, you will try to say it as camel companies. Camel is the mnemonics that we prepared and it is not in the act. We just try to prepare for the sake of understanding on the basis of control, on the basis of access to capital, on the basis of membership, on the basis of external other factors, and based on liability. If you know how to differentiate like this, then the types of companies becomes easy, because it depends on the types of companies that you will go for the loss. And obviously incorporation. When you cover the incorporation, right from the source like MOA, which is the charter of the company, AOA, which is the Magna Carta of the company, which tells about the bylaws, rules, and regulations, everything has to be covered. There is a fantastic flow that you will have to do when you study a subject like law, not just company law, for that matter, any law. So incorporation. So inside MOA, what are the points? You will have to write one after another. Inside AOA, what is the point you will have to remember? You should not stop there. You should also ensure what are the changes that you will try to do in MOA, AOA, how you will convert private company into public company. I told you the types of companies when we cover, you will cover the membership where you will have private limited company, public limited company, one-person company, small company. So when you read section 2, subsection 68 private and section 2, subsection 71, you get the base of what the private and public company is. So accordingly, when you cover, it is easy for you to know how a conversion can happen from a private to public company and from public company to private company, because the base is already there. The foundation is already there. Then you can try to cover up the exceptions that is available. That means when it comes to the positive way, there will always be exceptions. There are 3 types of questions that they can ask you: positive, negative, and non-negative. Positive is straight provision. Negative is what are the exceptions, and non-negative is what are not the exceptions, what are not the non-applicabilities. That means it becomes applicability. So these 3 types of questions can be coined in any examination, and the way that's how you should study for exam. Coming to the document and its types, you will have many documents that you will try to remember, like MOA, AOA, and then the types. When it comes to types of prospectus, when you see the 3rd chapter, there will be like shelf prospectus, abridged prospectus, red herring prospectus, offer for sale of securities. So that's what we would have told as MOA, AOA, and SARO. What is SARO is shelf prospectus, abridged prospectus, red herring prospectus, offer for sale of securities, which is like deemed. So all these types, when you cover, these are your strong points for you to know your law. Then the authorities involvement. It can be a registrar, it can be a central government, it can be a state government, it can be a tribunal. When it comes to tribunal, we will say NCLT, NCLAT. Against NCLT, we will go to NCLAT, National Company Law Tribunal. They are the tribunals are the last fact-finding authorities. And the more you finish the fact, and when there is question of law, then only you will go to court. So all these things to be covered. Sometimes regional director also gets covered. So all these people will come. When you see the authorities involved, very small example that I wanted to change in the place of registered office. If you see CIPORO is change in the place of registered office. If you see, it is within the city, within the state from one ROC to another, and from one state to another state. So if you see, there will be 4 divisions that is there. It will cover either a board resolution or a special resolution. The regional director will come into picture when it is ROC change, and the central government when it is from one state to another. So if you see, resolutions also will be there, authorities also will come into picture. So you should know under what particular chapters, what authorities will come into picture. So that's very important for us to cover. Next is the connections. The more important thing that you should try to do for a law is to connect from one section to another. Very simple example, I told 7 into 7 into 7. What is that 7 into 7 into 7 is? Section 7 deals with the incorporation of the company. In that, the second 7 is totally 7 points will get covered. And when it comes to the compliance procedure, inside that there will be 7 points. So 7 into 7 into 7 is easy for you to remember. Remembering section 7, then 7 points are there for incorporating, and then the compliances will be based on 7 points. Easy to remember. Then the issue of securities will have a huge connection saying, issue of securities, the moment when you say, it can be a public offer, initial public offer, or a prospectus. That is the first P. Second P is the private placement, rights issue, and the bonus issue. When it comes to the word securities, the securities connection should not be studied only in Companies Act. You should go to Securities Contract Regulation Act definition. In that section 2, subsection 81 of your SCRA 1956, Securities Contract Regulation Act, will cover what is that security, and then securities has to be connected with share capital and debentures. Share is a share in the share capital of the company as per section 2 subsection 84. Shares include stock, and securities not just include shares but also debentures. Debentures includes debenture stock, bonds, debentures, and any other acknowledging the evidencing a debt on the charge of the assets of the company or not. So again, that will go and get connected with the charge. See the connection here. I'll again repeat if you wanted to. The moment when we say issue of securities, the word securities is a larger term which is defined in Securities Contract Regulation Act 1956. Securities include shares and debentures. Share is a share in the share capital of the company, which is a definition as per section 2 subsection 84. Shares include stock, and shares plus debenture securities. So debenture definition, again you will go to section 2. Why am I again covering that definition? Is definition, if you are strong, it is going to be perfect for you to cover any subject, mainly the company law. So securities will cover shares plus debentures. Debentures include debenture stock, bonds, and any other evidencing a charge on the assets of the company or not. So this will cover your whole provisions of your securities. So the one word called securities will cover that. Then when we say rights issue, bonus issue, it will go and sit in your alteration in share capital, which is covering in your chapter number 4, share capital and debentures from 61 to 68. So from starting alteration of share capital, ending up till the buyback of securities. So that will get covered accordingly. So this is the connection that you wanted to cover. I'll also give you one more connection if you want. When you read accounts of companies, you will read a small concept called books of accounts. Why we say a small concept books of accounts? Because books of accounts is a part of books and papers or books or papers. What is books and or books or papers? Again, it is defined in section 2. Books of accounts, again, it is defined in section 2. Based on books of accounts only, you will prepare financial statements. And from there only, it will go and connect with your accounting standard. The moment when you cover accounting standard, 133 will get covered. Auditing standard, connect with the accounting standard, 143. 133 plus 143, for that you have an authority to do, which is called recently fully constituted NFRA, National Financial Reporting Authority, and from there, so on and so forth, it gets connected. So one word called books and books of accounts, it will get connected, because books and papers also include document. Document is that one word which will get connected again with your interpretation of statutes and General Clauses Act 1897. So that is going to other laws. We are not bothered about whether it is company law or other law. We are reading law for life and not just for exams. So that coverage should always be there in your head, and that's what we are trying to do. Next, connection with the other acts. Just now I was talking about when you say issue of securities in prospectus, it will go to Securities Contract Regulation Act. Like another example that I wanted to tell is a misstatement in prospectus. When you say the misstatement in prospectus, you will cover up two things which are majorly important: Code of Civil Procedure and Code of Criminal Procedure. Code of Civil Procedure is civil liability, 1908 it will cover. Code of Criminal Procedure, 1973, criminal liability. That will get connected with your Indian Penal Code 1860 and indirectly your punishment for fraud if you do any fraudulent activity, and that goes get connected with your section 447 of Companies Act 2013. So you can accordingly remember in that way also connecting. Wherever there is connection when you read there, you might not know for the first time, but that becomes a practice for you to cover how it is to be done. Next is your mnemonics. I already told you camel. I already told you Saro, shelf, abridged, red herring, and offer for sale. And you can also remember it like a story. The dad's punishment rectified by central government for charges. What is the dad's punishment? Obviously, the point number one is duty to charge. A is application. Date of notice of charge. So DAD apostrophe S is going to be S is satisfaction of charge. And you will find out all the punishments, and then rectification can also be done by a central government. So in this cover, automatically charges created before 2/11/2018, after 2/11/2018 gets completed, an application can be done either by a company or by the charge holder. This completes your whole charge chapter when you try to make this easily. I'll again repeat, the moment when you want to say duty, D is duty to register charge, A is application, and your D is date of notice of charge, and apostrophe S, yes is satisfaction of charge. You have punishments, and then central government also can rectify whatever it is. So this gets covered. And another mnemonics is news, QCPVRMM. So this is a high level mnemonics. But if you see management and administration, when we cover the meetings, it is before the meeting, during the meeting, and after the meeting. That's what is the mnemonics is. News is before the meeting. Notice, explanatory working statement, explanatory statement, NEWS. N is notice, EWS is explanatory working statement, which is called explanatory statement. QCPVR is quorum, chairman, proxy, voting, and then your resolutions. Post meeting, you will obviously have your minutes and other miscellaneous things to get covered. Easily, we can try to remember that this is the mnemonics for your management and administration when you cover up this news, QCPVR, and MM. Common confusions. The next thing, wherever you get confused, you should try to write it in a separate list, because in the subconscious mind, when you think it is confusing, and if you have written and kept, it is no more confusing because you have already written and kept as a list. So when you think it is confusing rather than telling it 10 times. If 10 different times, if you wrote 10 questions for confusing, I don't think it is going to be confusing. It's all the fight that you have between your conscious and subconscious mind. If you think that if you have a fear in subconscious mind, it will be very difficult for you to take out. But the only thing that you will have to remove it from your subconscious is to have a positive mindset and work on that particular negatives and speak only positive. Psychologically, there will be a hit between 10% of subconscious power and 10% of your conscious power and 90% of your subconscious power. For us, when we say law is easy, when you cover up this particular video, everything is going to change because subconsciously you cover it. That's what we are trying to do. Business can be an ordinary business or a special business. Notice can be a general notice or a special notice. Resolutions can be an ordinary resolution or a special resolution or a board resolution. Meeting can be an general meeting or a board meeting. General meeting can be annual general meeting or extraordinary general meeting. If you have confusions like this, the special business will always get ensured that it is an extraordinary general meeting, and it not necessary it should be only an ordinary or a special notice. Resolution also is like that. Simple majority and specified majority is your ordinary and special resolutions. Again, the connection and the confusion, if you write it and keep, then it's going to be easy. Number games and diagrams. Number games. Voting, there are 4 types of voting. Meetings, there are 2 plus 5 plus 2. 2 is before meeting, 5 is during the meeting, and 2 is after the meeting. Like that you can do. Now diagrams. When you see diagrams, and a small example that I wanted to show is the dividend. Dividend declared, it has to be paid within 30 days. If not within 30 days, then 7 days. It has to be put in an unpaid dividend account. If it is not done, then the company has to pay a 12% interest per annum. And within 90 days, prepare a statement, put it in the website and for the government for the purpose. If it is not done for the 7 years, after the expiry of 7 years, you put that to IEPF, Investor Education and Protection Fund. What did I do? I quickly summarize the chart. I'll again tell you very slowly. Whatever the dividend that is declared or claimed has to be paid within 30 days. If not within 30 days, within 7 days, put that in the unpaid dividend account, which is like unpaid or unclaimed amount. Once you are not doing that within that time, then the company will pay 12% simple interest per annum from the date of the default within 90 days. If you have put that in the unpaid dividend account within 90 days, prepare a statement with all the required details, and not stopping with the preparation of statement, post it in the website of the company and for the government for their own purpose. If all this is not been done within 7 years, at the expiry of 7 years, you will put that amount, which is like unpaid or unclaimed, will be put into IEPF, which is called Investor and Education Protection Fund. Now, this is the way that when you see the diagram in Tamil, they will call something called Padam Parthu Kadai Sol. When you see the picture, you will try to remember the whole story. We did this in the school under basics were right. I wanted you to do in the examination also, because ICA has come up with fantastic diagrams and pictures in recent material. So it is easy for you to cover up that way. I was talking about the news and QC, PVR and MM. That's what is notice, explanatory working statement, which is called explanatory statement. QC, PVR, quorum, chairman, proxy, voting, the section numbers, and the minutes and the miscellaneous connecting your document relation. So easy to remember in that way. That's what I was talking about all this time. Next is your reverse psychology. What are all the positive aspects you remember? That's great. Non-applicability, exceptions, exemptions, all these words, if you try to remember, you will also know the other side of the coin. Okay, so when you do this, complaints procedures are great. When you are not doing this, what will happen, or what are the exceptions, what are the non-applicabilities, everything has to get covered. More importantly, for all these things to be done, a chemistry should work out between you and the subject. And sometimes when the faculty comes inside, faculty, you and the material, the faculty should bridge the gap between what you know and what the institute material says for law. That connection has to be there. That's what is going to be more important for you to get an exemption. Next is the law of attraction, which we already call. I'll cover up this as a last aspect once we finish. Case loss coverage. How will you cover the case loss? Very simple 4 points that you will do is what is given in the question. Write it in 2 lines so that it's easy for the examiner to know. I am coming to the examination perspective. Provisions of the case according to this section or according to this case law or as per the case law. Only if you know the correct section numbers, please quote. Only if you know the correct case laws, you do. If you do not know the section numbers, at least try to use a chapter name or a schedule name. I told you 10 chapters we have out of 29 chapters. 10 chapters we have it for your interlaw. 7 schedules are there. Some 2-3 schedules will get applicable. Accordingly, you can write that so that institute will be happy that you are able to cover up at least a chapter number or a section number rather than the section number, at least a schedule number. Next is your according to, or you can use that word and then start. Then what is there in the first and second, you try to combine both. That means analysis of the provisions. Analysis of the provisions is connecting 1 and 2. What is the question and what is the provision? With connections, I wanted you to mention the possibilities or the chances. If you do like this, then this will be as per the provisions of the Act. If you do with this, this will be the provisions of the Act, notwithstanding anything contained to. Like that and all these words which we are covering should be practiced by writing the test series. In Premier Academy, whenever we talk about completing the portions, because we always ensure that completing the portions is very important than remaining else, because we need to do it to complete the portions with a deadline. We have a deadline to get covered and we'll complete that, because only after that people will start writing up the test series. And we always enunciate on writing the test, because the more you write as a test, you know where you fail. When you know what is wrong, you know what is right. So exactly you do the same thing. So this can be more like a test when you write. So with all the possibilities, you will try to write it and give the connection. The last one is your inference or a decision or a conclusion. Don't say this contention is like this. Say as per my opinion or in my opinion, this is how the case law provisions has been dealt with as per the provisions. If you write that, then you become like an auditor. As an auditor, how will I think? In my opinion, how it is going to be. If you write these 4 different words, the case law coverage will be automatically covered. Next is your MCQs coverage. very important sections you should try to cover, the base, which will be your base for your MCQ. Second is your number games. Do it within 7 days. Whatever you wanted to file with the registrar, do it within 30 days. The specified majority is always 75%. Simple majority is 50%. Incorporation is 7 into 7 into 7. So number games, wherever the days count or whatever is the within the days, when we say charges before 211 and after 211-2018, before 211, 300 days and all were there. Now it is only 60 days plus 30 or whatever. So it's easy for us to know the number games when you prepare a chart. The third is the authorities, which I've already told you. Whether central government is there or regional directors there or NCLT is there or MCA is there or registrar, whatever. If you try to cover all this, then you know this authority only will be there for this. So you can accordingly remember that. Resolutions, obviously ordinary or special or board. Documentations, the words and the types of documents which we need is very important, and that has to be covered. Doctrines, obviously, you know, MOA will cover ultra vires and AOA will cover your doctrine of indoor management and doctrine of constructive notice. So doctrines coverage you can do. It covers your other laws also, like where you have ejusdem generis, nocete res societas, contemporary exposure, all these things, utrus magis valet quam parat, all that words, when you have those type of keywords and jargons, you try to remember. When you say ejusdem generis, of the same kind or species, like that they will try to cover. So when we say mens rea, guilty mind, like that we can try to remember. You can cover up that in interpretation of statutes. Accordingly, company law also will get covered, other law also will get covered. Now, next is your types that I've already told you. Types of companies, types of capital. Everything has to be in order. You should know for which question you need to cover in what order. Okay, that's again very important. Let's take for an example, financial statements. You cannot change the order of the definition of financial statements because it should be in a flow. First is balance sheet, then P&L cash flow statement, statement of changes in equity, bracket if applicable, then if there is any explanatory notes forming part of the above 4 subclauses or the clauses. So that's how they will try to cover up when it comes to financial statements, because you cannot change the order of the financial statement. The charts that I was talking about just now, when we wanted to cover these charts, this is what I wanted to cover also. So charts like that, you can prepare that. Confusing questions. What is confusing for me may not be for you. So what is confusing for you has to be written and kept. And ensure if you do all these things, you will be able to cover your law in a high level understanding. You can also go deep. You can also try to find what is actually there. When it comes to November 20 exams, the key areas that are to be covered is MOA, AOA, clauses and tables. There are many clauses like names, name clause, situation or domicile clause, object clause, liability, capital, subscription, association should be in order. So you can remember the clauses and tables. A, B, C, D, E for MOA, F, G, H, I, J is for AOA. Connecting your liability. I told you camel, you remember. So based on that L liability, you will cover that. Questions relating to securities. Securities to be dealt in stock exchange. What are the issue of securities? Those words are again very important. Alteration of share capital when it comes to share capital and debentures. Right from 61 to 68, one question will be damn sure for the examination. Charges before and after 2/11/2018, I have already told you. Charts of dividends, which I have already shown you. Financial statements, I told you it should be in order and in connections. That's again very important. Audit and auditors is, there are some 8 items that you need to remember. ARR with an EQ and a DRP. What is that ARR? Appointment, removal, resignation. EQ, eligibility, qualifications. DRP, disqualification, remuneration, powers, and with your prohibited services. When you connect with cost audit, everything will get covered. Right till 148, you will be able to cover. Also, you should know whether it is first auditor or subsequent auditor. Also, you should know whether it is in government company or other company. See the compare and contrast that I was talking about. So it is your first auditor, subsequent auditor, and then in government company or in other company, because that only determines your casual vacancy, remuneration, who is going to do what, and the hierarchy will be very clear on that. Concepts and its related parties for other laws like Indian Contract Act 1872 and Negotiable Instruments Act 1881. So accordingly, you can remember that who are the parties: drawer, drawee, payee, drawee in case of need, holder, holder in due course, payment in due course, and what are the instruments: noting, protest, dishonor, negotiation, assignment, everything. When you wanted to cover those words which will be there will get covered. So you can accordingly cover that. Similarities and differences in interpretation of statutes and general clauses act. In and out of everything that you cover with the connection of your points to be covered, like constructions, internal aids, external aids. That's what is in and out. Accordingly, you can remember that and finish your flow of understanding this. This is what you should, this is the way that you should cover your other laws. Please repeat this video and see again and again, so that I wanted to complete it in a fixed period of time. The more number of times you listen to this video, it's going to make you really, really strong, and the approach will be very clear. Now, consensus add item is what we will say, meeting the minds of people. Now, the base coverage, whatever I have to do, whatever we have told, will all be covered in our law classes in Premier Academy. So the applicability is for November 20 exams. I'm now talking about the upcoming regular classes that we have. The starting date for your regular class will be 1/8. In another 2-3 days, they will start. 1st August 2020. Ending date is 31/8/2020. And it will be only on weekdays. Monday to Friday we will cover. Timings will be from 2 to 5 p.m. Coverage, undoubtedly full coverage within the time limit it has to be done. So it is not only the regular class, the crash course also is there, and it is from the September 2nd week. That means from September 10th. If you want, I can also write it here. So September 10th to 15th. September 10 to 15, which is going to be more your 6 days of your coverage for your inter-syllabus, inter-law syllabus, both for old and new syllabus we will try to cover. So this is for your crash course that we were talking about. So once you know that the regular course is there or the crash course is there, accordingly you can register for it and ensure you are completing law with a very decent level coverage. Again, I wanted to say law is not just for exam, law is for life. Let's make longevity personified. So you can take this and you can listen to the points that I have already covered. You can listen to it a number of times once it is uploaded, and ensure that meeting the minds of people, whatever you feel like you wanted to do, we will try to cover that in the class. And this is what we call matching the minds of the people and meeting the minds of people, catching the mind voice, and we say stepping into the shoes of student, finding out what it is. So you can see what is there for your regular and crash courses. You can also cover, you can also ensure if there is any doubt, you can come back to us. You can contact Premier Academy for it. Or if there is any specific doubts relating to the joining of the courses, you can come back to me for the doubts that you have, and which is there from your WhatsApp number. So this is my number, and you can come back to me and asking for the doubts, and we are happy to help you. So we are always here to provide quality education and ensure it is not just for exam, it is for life. So thank you so much for listening to this video. Ensure that law is to be taken for life, and we visualize it really strong that this is going to be the last attempt, and November 2020 if you're writing, and that's your last attempt, and ensure that we are going to be pakka doing it. Okay, so thank you guys for covering up all this with you, and we are very happy that we are continuously taking up classes. It is not just during this period of time. We have also tried doing maximum during the pandemic situation by covering up all the seminars and the webinars. Please go get connected with Hari Sir's YouTube channel and ensure that when you wanted to cover any subject for that matter, it will be there as a video. So thank you so much and have a nice day.